Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Howdy, all y'all. This is red.olaughlin here on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm cheating a little bit today because a couple of years ago I was speaking at a Chamber of Commerce event, and I thought about, well, let's talk about sunlight, and not a topic that most of the people in health talk about. Most of the time we hear, let's avoid it. But to me, it's a special topic. I'm redhead. I sunburn very easily, super easily, but I don't like putting a lot of sunblock on because it can create problems because a lot of toxins in there, a lot of issues with those kinds of things. So I said, well, why not today talk about the various aspects of sunlight in our health, because there's a lot of things that happen that most of us are totally unaware of. So with that being said, before we get into the real nitty gritty today, let's go ahead and load up the slides for today. And our show on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, Talking Heads is seen on Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, Android, Apple TV, YouTube. In fact, YouTube is where all the archives are kept. Just lots and lots and lots. I think it's 15 or 18 different locations that the live streaming video is shown. And there's another half a dozen to or more that the audio version is found on various places throughout the digital world. So with that being said, let me jump over to my disclaimer. I'm a researcher. Never been in the medical field, never been in the pharmaceutical field. My first degree was in chemistry. I have 5 academic degrees, none of them in the same area. So in other words, my second degree was nothing to do with chemistry, third degree, nothing to do with the first 2. Also, I have 7 professional certifications. Some of those are in similar fields, but that's because of the businesses I was working in at the time. Retired Navy captain, 31 years in the military, been to 61 countries. But what I do nowadays is I'm a researcher. I research the human body at the cellular level. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. You treat the symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms. But the cause is still there, and it may actually get worse, but you're treating the symptoms and you'll never know. So it's really, really important that you understand what's going on in order to make sure that the treatment is being done properly. I've been back and forth to the eye doctor a couple times here recently, and it's interesting. He's one of the first doctors that, okay, we're going to stop everything and add one thing at a time until we find out what's causing I have a red eye problem here for the last month. And I really truly agree with that. There's something causing it. We know that whatever it is, we don't know exactly. So let's just go ahead and try eliminating things. Anyway, been married 56 years, a couple of kids, 3 grandkids, and our first great grandson will be a year next month. Best-selling author, 8 books, independent publisher, distinguished Toastmaster. I've written over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn. And as always, the information I'm presenting today is for awareness and educational purposes. Okay, that being said, oh yeah, essentially today, literally almost no change from last week, less than a quarter pound gain in weight, no change on anything except until you get down to the basal metabolic rate. It went up a couple, went down a couple anyway. So literally no change. I think last week I was 1621, so I went up 2 from last week on the basal metabolic rate on the kilocalories, but essentially no change from last week, even though there may be a change from the original start date a month ago. Not too concerned because I am getting my habits established and it's not the first of the year. I'm not looking at February coming here shortly and I haven't done anything. So from an accountability perspective, yeah, I'm behind. But Thanksgiving was good. First Christmas party was good. Got a Christmas party, military luncheon tomorrow, Christmas party there later on. Got another. Anyway, Christmas and Thanksgiving kind of a bad time of the year to start. So I'm making progress. I'm happy and continue on. Okay, sunlight and health. Dr. Eric Berg and Dr. Roger Seholt have a lot of information on YouTube, more than it's almost impossible to digest. And they talk about sunshine as radiation from the sun and the primary formation of 2 things, vitamin D3 and melatonin. And actually, you can go in there and just be amazed and wowed at what's there. And I'm going to try my best today to cover that. But as we look at sunshine, we have 3 different frequencies of the ultraviolet. We have 3 different frequencies of the infrared, and we have the visible light. But what we're going to be looking at as sunlight, it hits our skin. A lot of things happen. I have to have cholesterol in order to make vitamin D3. So what happens? The first thing is that sunlight hits our skin, and the cholesterol works with the sunlight, activates, and creates a thing called 7-dehydro, dehydrocalciferol. That's the first conversion of sunlight into a chemical in our body. Then in the skin, it's converted to what's called pre-vitamin D3. We now have the continuation of that cholesterol working with the sunlight, and then it's finally converted to what it's called vitamin D3, but it's not in a biological form. And so it has to go into the liver. So the bloodstream takes it, sends it to the liver, and it's basically going from a cholecalciferol format in it's being almost biologically activated. You're having a hydroxy radical. It's basically a hydrogen and oxygen added at space number 25 on that long chain of carbons. And it's 25 hydroxy vitamin D3. But that's not it. It's almost there. It has to go to the kidneys next. Then the kidneys add that extra hydroxy radical. So now I have, it's converted from cholecalcidiol to calcitriol. And that is your 1,25 dihydroxy vitamin D3. That is the active form in the body that vitamin D3 just goes out and does all sorts of good things with. So your serotonin levels go up, your mood goes up, melatonin goes down because it's sunlight. We don't make melatonin per se. We do, and I'm going to talk about that, but from the standard that when darkness occurs in our pineal gland basically produces melatonin. That's what we hear about most of the time. We're going to cover a little bit about how sunlight also makes melatonin during the day. But depending on your age, your skin color, the heat, the humidity, how sick you are, how much UV radiation's out there at the same time. Between 10 and 2, you have a lot of UV. Before 10 o'clock and after 2 o'clock, not so much. Lots of things are there. So if I have, let's say that I'm laying out in my bathing suit alongside of the pool, it's a nice summer day, my skin is very white. I'll probably in 30 minutes make 50,000 international units of the vitamin D3. Easy, because my white skin actually provides a massive amount of cholesterol and everything else to make that happen. If I had a little bit more tanned skin, maybe in 30 minutes, maybe 20,000. A much darker skin, in 30 minutes, 8,000. How much do you need? Well, if you look at the authorities and what they say, about 800, and I don't understand why they came up with that. I think it was, my personal opinion is, it was a long time ago before they actually had a lot of data. To me, I take 10,000 a day during the summer, and I take 20,000 a day if I use a vitamin D3 in the wintertime. If I'm outside in the sun working a lot in the yard, I'll kind of back off a little bit. But vitamin D3 is required for about 19,000 different genes in our body as far as it's activating something or working with them. We look at what's the biggest risk from sunlight? Well, if you look at too much vitamin D3, and this takes super amounts, 100,000 or more for months at a time, to become a toxic issue and become a problem with a death. But having a deficiency, which is a major problem in the United States, most of the people in the United States are just very, very deficient. And you look at what's the ratio of people dying because of too much vitamin D3 and not enough. Well, for every one person that dies with too much vitamin D3, 329 die from not having enough vitamin D3. So it's about 5,000 people a year die related to some aspect of vitamin D3. Now you look back, almost 100 years ago, melanomas, which is the primary reason they die, about 1 in 1,500. Today, 1 in 50. Just, it is what it is. But of the spectrum that's out there, 7% is probably an accurate adjustment for the 34% for ultraviolet, 54% for infrared, and I think it's about 7% for the visible, but I'm not absolutely certain on that one. But the VD3, without it, we end up with skin cancer. With it, so in other words, I guess the real thing is, so long as you're not burning, as long as I don't get a sunburn, I can tolerate a lot of everything. I go out and play golf, I'll put some sunblock on after 9 holes. But once I start to burn, then I've kind of used up my protection from the IR. So that being said, and it's absolutely something that enhances the immune system. 100 years ago, sunlight was used in wound healing. They had things called solariums. They would bring the patients out and lay them via glass or sometimes out in the open air. And it would be used because it was a natural healing therapy. It reduces pain. We talk about melatonin. If we're in a totally dark area, a part of our brain, the pineal gland, will produce melatonin. But it only produces, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, about 5%. But it improves our quality of sleep, and it's literally being sent throughout the whole body in our bloodstream. But in the daytime, melatonin is now created by sunlight, the IR, near infrared, the lowest level of frequency on the infrared. And it is subcellular. It's inside the cells working on the mitochondria. Super critical in that regard. So as I said, at nighttime, about 5% in the body is actually being used. Now, if you're in an area where there's a lot of lights where you're sleeping, you're not wearing a mask, your 5% is going to decrease because light of any kind is going to affect the level of melatonin production. However, in the daytime, the subcellular is an amazing amount. It actually goes through our brain, the IR radiation, goes into our spinal column, goes into our spinal fluid, gets sent throughout the whole body, goes to every cell, and it basically works with the mitochondrial aspects of our body inside the cells to improve our enzyme network, to reduce free radical damage, to reduce oxidative stress. It's basically a major protective mechanism for the cells. And if you start looking at the different kinds of diseases that are caused by some aspect of melatonin not protecting the cells, you're looking at think 17 different kinds of cancer that they're aware of, metabolic underlying causes, cardiovascular, diabetes, all sorts of things out there. A lot of free radical damage. We've talked about in the past that 95% of all diseases starts at the cellular level with free radical damage, progressing into oxidative stress, progressing into DNA that's mutated that our immune system can't fix. So a lot of areas there that are a concern. Okay. One of the things they notice with people with dementia, primarily Alzheimer's, is that there's a term, sundowner's syndrome, that during the day with sunlight, they're compliant, they have their symptoms, but you start getting towards sunset, and all of a sudden the irritability of almost half of the people with dementia increases because of the IR is not available anymore now. If you have incandescent lighting inside, you have candles going inside, that reduces that sundowner's syndrome. But in reality, if there's a way, and there's actually a lot of different ways, they have lights that will simulate sunrise, they'll have lights that simulate all sorts of things. IR therapy, red light therapy, near infrared therapy, lots of things in there. But the IR, because it's so effective, I think it goes down about 8 centimeters into the body. It penetrates our hats, our gloves, our shirts, pants, everything. So whatever you're wearing, you're getting it. Not only is it coming from the sun, but it's bouncing off the dirt, it's bouncing off the grass, it's bouncing off the buildings. So the IR is there, a lot of places for it. But if you happen to have or entering into a dementia aspect of life, then that's something that, okay, they get more irritable at night. Maybe that's because of the IR. That might be something you talk to your doctor about. Okay, what hurts us with regard to near infrared deficiency? Well, most of our windows nowadays, they call low E. I didn't really know what it was years ago when they replaced my windows in my home, but it's low E. And what it does is it reduces the infrared and UV light coming through so that the inside of the house is not near as hot. And as such, the air conditioning works better. It's cheaper. Lots of things that happen. But what do we have now? We got rid of the incandescent bulbs. We put the low E windows up. Our sun exposure is much less. We're wearing long sleeves. We wear a hat. We put on sunblock. We're really now in a world that is begging for more deficiency in that infrared world that we need. Our cell phones, our computers, our monitors, they're all inside. They're blue light. It interrupts that IR ability to operate. So we have a lot of technology. Yeah, it makes our world cheaper, easier, more brighter. But way back 1930s, most people worked outside. They were getting sunlight all day long. Nowadays, we get in the car, so we're outside for a few minutes. We might go out to lunch. We come home this time of year, probably after dark. We're not getting the sunlight we need. If you had one option you could do at lunchtime, even if you just go out and spend 5 minutes walking around the parking lot, but if you could get 20 minutes in the sun, in sunlight, absolute major enhancement for your health. A lot of seasonal diseases. And I think if you look at, was it 40 degrees latitude, 30 degrees? Anyway, there's a latitude line in the United States. I want to say it's 40. No, that's way up north. Must be 30. Let's go through down. The incidence of multiple sclerosis is super high compared to lower in the south. So your latitude of where you're at, the time of the year, summer, winter, the color of your skin, the ability of your liver to process things, your age, your sex, your gender, all things affect your ability to convert sunlight into vitamin D3. So you're seeing an increase nowadays more, as I said, 329 to 1, the number of people who die each year because of vitamin D3 deficiency. How much is needed? Well, it depends, because if I look at my house and I'm have lights on incandescent if I can find them. I might get what they call 50 lux, LUX. That's the range for that. Let me see if I have it here. I think it was 50. Yeah, 50 lux inside the house. I walk outside and the lux is about 100,000. So inside to outside, you're looking at a massive amount of difference between what's available indoors and what you can get outdoors. So, walk around the parking lot for 10 minutes, stand outside in the sunshine. If it's windy and cold, go ahead and find an area where it's not so windy. But it's a major help for the body when you can get that vitamin D3 into the body. Now, another aspect of having deficiencies in vitamin D is that when I look at 3 different molecules, I have ACE, angiotensin converting enzymes. I got my angiotensin aspects of it. I have a 2, a 1, and a 7. All 3 of those, when I start decreasing my levels of vitamin D3, I increase my risk of high blood pressure because I'm allowing that free radical damage to increase. I'm allowing the risk of oxidative stress to increase. Lots of things there that now are taking inside my cells, that mitochondrial where the melatonin is helping protect the cell. I don't have the level of mitochondrial support that I need. So if I don't have the ability to use incandescent lights at home, maybe in one room, my infrared levels go down, and lots of issues with regard to that. Taking melatonin for night sleep, well, they sell them usually in pills 1 to 3 1 to 3 milligrams, and you can also get them in 10 and above. And one thing that I learned literally last night was that latest research says that 1 to 3 is probably the most beneficial because anything over that, the body kind of wastes a little bit. I take a lot more than that when I take melatonin. There's reasons why. That if I have a bad night's sleep last night, well, maybe I'm not getting what I need. Okay, I was inside all day yesterday, didn't get out. Well, maybe to get a better quality of sleep tonight, I'll take a couple of melatonin capsule supplement. So that melatonin will help, but maybe I don't need to take as much as I needed. But I also need to make sure that at night I'm getting absolute darkness. I've been, for the last 6 months, I've been wearing a sleep mask, and I am just amazed at how well it works. So it took a little while to get used to turning and not having it pull up on one side, but it's an adapted thing. Now, there's a master antioxidant. An antioxidant is what addresses that oxidative stress and the free radical damage. And all the different foods we eat, each one, blueberries has a different one than orange juice. Each molecule is different. Each one has a different aspect of protecting the body, dissipating, canceling, reducing the free radical damage, which ends up as inflammation. So if we are able to cancel out the free radical damage, we stop the oxidative stress. If I can stop that, then other things can happen. Well, most of the literature says that glutathione is the master antioxidant. Well, I used to think that another one in the brain, because it had the ability to regenerate so many times, was a better antioxidant, and plus the fact that it worked on the brain. And by the way, almost half of the brain is cholesterol. So if you're having a cholesterol problem and you're taking drugs to get rid of it, potential issue there. A lot of side effects from statin drugs. But if I'm looking at glutathione, one of the precursors of glutathione is you have to have melatonin. And so you have melatonin is going to ramp up the production of glutathione. And in and of itself, it's an amazing, it's at least according to the researchers I've been looking at, they've changed their mind. Glutathione is a very absolute good antioxidant, but melatonin is better. And so where do you get melatonin at? When you sleep in total darkness and when you're out in sunlight during the day and not burning. So that's super critical. The 2 different forms of melatonin, one that we make in our brain, it goes throughout the whole body. The other one is the one that we make inside our cells. Seeing if I have any other notes that I want to cover before I get too far. So, boom, 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 boom. The melatonin, vitamin D3, super critical for your health. Again, if you don't have a sleep mask, they're very inexpensive. I was looking at some online, $7 or something like that for a pack of 4, or even less than $20 for some very high quality ones for just a pack of 1 on Amazon. Might be a good Christmas present or just a birthday present for somebody. Go ahead and get to the last slide here. The weekly program for talking heads. I pick a topic. I don't know what next week's topic is going to be, but I try to pick something that I've written about or spoken about. Today's topic, I spoke at, like I say, Chamber of Commerce meeting in February 2022. And that was a video because we were not doing much during COVID. But anyway, I have books, No Matter What You Can Do. It talks about the subconscious mind, the 7 aspects of the joy of ageless health, about how you can prevent disease at the cellular level, longevity secrets for healthy aging. I talk about 2 of the primary causes of aging, 40 plus articles I've written on Alzheimer's, another book on how to write and publish your book for free, and a book right now that is not available. I hope to have it available by Christmas. It's called Failure is Not an Option, and I'm working on getting that one out here in the next couple of weeks. So with that being said, I look forward to joining you next week on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Take care, y'all.